Hi there. I want to teach you about a new program that I've been using through Google Apps. It's called Google Forms, and I just think that there's a lot of great possibilities with using it, and so I thought that I would create a Google form and show you how I do it and let you decide for yourself as to whether or not it is something that would be useful in your own practice. Google Forms is a way to create an electronic form, and a form can be used from anything from creating a multiple choice quiz to getting short answer responses, long answer responses from your students. It can be used for polling your students. It can also be used for a reflection piece. It's a way to collect a lot of data from a lot of people. What I really like about Google Forms is once I've created a document and shared it out and my students have submitted their responses to that form, I then get a spreadsheet with all of their responses on one document. So it saves me a lot of time in terms of marking rather than going through 60 some odd individual papers. I can have a look at one document at one time, which is really useful. So I'm going to show you how I do that. Let's close me down here. You'll want, if you want to find out how to get to Google Forms, you can start at the SMU web homepage and then go to Intranet and scroll down here to Google Docs and Drive. And then you may have to log on. I was already logged on. But if you click on the Create button, here are all of your options with your Google Drive. I've added a few separate applications, but here's Google Form. Now the first thing that you're going to need to do when you decide on how you want to set up your Google Form is you'll need to decide on the background, and you've got a lot of options here for templates. This is really, this doesn't affect what you can do on your form. This is merely for aesthetic purposes. So I'm a teacher. I like this note paper option, so I'm going to go with that. And then the form that I'm going to be creating with you today is for an exploratory class that I've just started teaching students about all the various applications that Google offers. And I've called my exploratory Going Google. Exploratory. Okay, so I've selected that and I've given it a title. So you'll see here is the title of my questionnaire that I'm going to be developing for my students. Now, first things first, you need to tick off these boxes for your form settings. This is set to default. It will always require St. Michael's University School login to view this form. That's great. If you want to use it for purposes outside of St. Michael's University School, then of course you'll have to uncheck that box. I also like to automatically collect the respondent's username, and then I also like my students to be able to see their progress at the bottom of the form pages. So I usually check all three of those boxes off. And so you can just start inputting your questions. So if you wanted to use this for setting up a multiple choice test, you can ask your first test question here. If you want to give them a hint, this is the second box, and then it allows you to input your answers. But I'm using this as a questionnaire. I want to gauge where my students are starting in terms of their Google skills. So rate your familiarity Google Apps. And then I'll put a little hint here. 1 is not at all. 5 is mastered. Okay, now the type of question that you want to ask, you have some options here. Text is for short answer, paragraph is for longer answer, of course. You can go with a multiple choice. A check boxes can be used for a yes-no type of question. I'm going to use the scale because I want my students to rate their skills from 1 to 5. Now I can label each of my numbers, but for the purposes of time, I'll skip that. Yes, this is a required question, so this question is done. Now I want a second question. I want my students to tell me, have you ever created a presentation using a Google app? My students don't need a hint for this one, and I'm going to make this either just a yes or a no. Whoops. Yes, this is a required question. I didn't mean to add those. And so this is done. And then just to show you what a longer question would look like, what apps have you used in the past? I'm going to ask for a longer response here. Oops. And then scrolling down. Oopsies. So again, this is a required question, and done. Now you can add as many questions. You can use it just for one question. It's really up to you. So confirmation page, show the link to submit another response. I don't want to allow my responders to edit responses after they've submitted, so I'm going to click on send the form. Now here is where I would enter the email addresses of my students taking this course. I'm going to send it to myself just so that you can see what it looks like. Send. So now if we go to my email, so whoever you've sent that form to will receive an email that looks like this. If they click on the link, it opens up to the actual form that you've created. So you'll see each of the 3 questions. Now I'm going to fill it out as if I was a student taking the class. So rate my familiarity. Let's say I'm a 4. Have you ever created a presentation? Yes. I've used Powtoon. Let's just leave it at that for now. Okay. Now I'm also going to click on send me a copy of my responses because I want to keep this as a student in this class. I want to keep my responses because I'm going to fill out this questionnaire again at the end of the course so that I can gauge my growth in the course and what I've learned. So I'm going to keep a copy of my responses, and now I'm going to submit. So now I'm going to go back to my drive, and as the creator of that form, you will get a summary of the responses, and it will be titled whatever the title of your questionnaire was, but with responses. And you'll see here's the spreadsheet of the answers. So it tells me what time my student created or filled in the form, and then here are their answers. I'm not sure why the username is over here and the answer to one of the questions is over here, but that's not really important. So it also tells me who submitted it, and then it tells me their answers. So you can already see the potential for how quick this would make marking a multiple choice test for you. You have all of your responses on one page, which would be really great. And because it's done electronically, there's no use for papers, and you don't have to worry about saving it. It's always updated, and the beauty of Google Drive is that it saves work as you go. So I hope that you found this little tutorial on Google Forms useful, and I recommend that the best way to learn something is to play with it and try it out. So if you have any success with Google Forms, I'd love to hear about it, and you can email me at tanya.lee@smus.ca. Thank you.